Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in Senior A English. We are in Unit 3 and we are preparing now for our study of Shakespearean sonnets from our hymnal. I'm with you now on page 373 and following. We're going to look at 3 of Shakespeare's sonnets in your consumable. The first is Sonnet 12, and we'll be looking at that one now. Let's go ahead and look back just a page, though, to the biography information one more time. We've heard a lot about Shakespeare, but let's remind ourselves again. Your dates, 1564 to 1616. In addition to numerous plays, Shakespeare also wrote 2 long narrative poems, Venus and Adonis, as well as The Rape of Lucerce, as well as 154 sonnets. During Shakespeare's time, poetry was widely regarded as an art practiced only by nobles and gentlemen. Nonetheless, Shakespeare, a rustic interloper, introduced himself as poet between 1593 and 1594. You want to make sure you note those dates. His sonnets, poignant musings about life, provide insights about love, mortality, and the effects of time. The background information for these 3 sonnets, like the sonnet sequences of other poets, Shakespeare's 154 sonnets are numbered. Most of them are addressed to a handsome, talented young man, urging him to marry and have children who can carry on his talents. Shakespeare, among other poets, used the sonnet form to bring the fundamental experiences of life, time, death, life, and friendship, into tight focus. Let's turn to Sonnet 12, early on in the sequence of 154. Notice that this sonnet of 14 lines, a sonnet of end rhyme. Notice time, prime, night, white, A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. Notice that this sonnet of iambic pentameter, when I do count the clock that tells the time, when I do count the clock that tells the time, ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. That ba-bum is an iambic foot. 5 of those is iambic pentameter, pent meaning 5, right? Notice that this sonnet is constructed in a when, then construction. Okay? So we'll pay attention to it. He says, when I do count the clock that tells the time, and see the brave day sunk in hideous night, when I behold the violet past prime, and sable curls all silvered o'er with white, when lofty trees I see barren of leaves, which erst from heat did canopy the herd, and summer's green all girded up in sheaves, borne on the bier with white and bristly beard. Then of thy beauty do I question make, that thou among the wastes of time must go, since sweets and beauties do themselves forsake, and die as fast as they see others grow. And nothing gainst time's sight can make defense, save breed to brave him when he takes thee hence. Now again, the poem is a fairly simple poem when we understand its construction of the when, then construction. And we see this often in Shakespeare's sonnets. So learning how to read one of these sonnets helps us to be able to read others. Notice he begins, when I do count the clock that tells the time. In other words, when I consider the passing of time. Let's put that in our notes right away. When I think about the fact that everything is aging, the fact that you are sitting in a class at the end of your high school career instead of at the beginning of your high school career. This is, of course, informative. And he says, when I start thinking about the passage of time, there's clear indicators of the way that's happening. What is the first one? And see the brave day sunk in hideous night. The fact that here in a few hours it'll be the middle of the night informs us easily that this is the nature of time. The second when I behold the violet past prime, and sable curls all silvered o'er with white. In other words, the beautiful turns old, right? The hair of a beautiful person will grow later white, right? The next third, when lofty trees I see barren of leaves. This is one of the famous word pictures, of course. We've used it many times. Ruthie's tree out there, the fact that, there's leaves on it at one point, and then there are no leaves on it at all. He says, when lofty trees I see barren of leaves, which erst from heat did canopy the herd. All the herd would go under the trees, but then of course all the leaves are gone. And summer's green, this is about our wheat, right? All girded up in sheaves, borne on the byre with white and bristly beard. In other words, grass grows, our grain, we're familiar with this because of where we live, right? We see lots of these fields, and there they are, and then of course they get cut and off they go, right? When, then, line 9. And of course that's always the important break at line 9. Then of thy beauty do I question make. Now the poem gets personal, speaking directly to another person. Some have seen this as a woman, some have seen this as a man. Doesn't really matter. He says, then of thy beauty do I question make, that thou, you, among the wastes of time must go. Since sweets and beauties do themselves forsake, and die as fast as they see others grow. Walk into any gym, take a look at those beautiful, magnificent bodies in the prime of youth, and challenge those bodies to imagine what they'll look like in 100 years. Because they ain't gonna look like that. This is his point. All physical beauty fades, he says. And you can kind of get a sense that it's almost as if he's saying, I never really thought about this, but you're so stunningly beautiful, and then I'm thinking about the fact that you're not going to look like this physically for much longer, and then all of that beauty is going to go away. He finishes his rhymed couplet with an interesting observation, one that we're obviously going to have to debate. And nothing against time's scythe can make defense. Now, of course, time is often pictured as father time with the scythe cutting the grains of grass, right? Your life, in other words. Nothing against time's scythe can make defense. You ain't met no 200-year-old people, in other words. Save breed. Now, you're going to circle that word. You're going to even see that we got a footnote to make sure you understand that here breed means children. To brave him when he takes the hints. Wait. What did you just read? Well, he says you're stunningly beautiful, but in the same way that trees lose their leaves, in the same way that hair gets old and white, in the same way that grass gets old and then is cut and taken away, in that same way, you're going to have to grow old and you're going to have to die. And the only thing that you can do to try to somehow beat Father Time with his sight is you. You. To have children. It's the only way. Now, I've had students that say, whoa, this is a very interesting idea. It never occurred to me that my parents got together, hooked up and exchanged fluids to produce me, so that after they're dead, there's still a part of them that lives on. A way to somehow conquer death itself is through progeny, through children. Well, that's an interesting idea. Of course, at 3B, the obvious questions here abound. Do you like the idea or the notion that the primary reason you were born is so that your parents can transcend time? And of course, your grandparents and your great-grandparents, and on it goes. And then, of course, the obvious second question, one that I see some of you already smiling about, is the question of, is this a way for you to conquer time as well? In other words, in the end, getting together with another person isn't really about so much love of that other person as it is the desire to someday have children, so that way you can conquer time as well. Well, there you go. Sonnet 1-2. I hope that you've enjoyed the challenge and maybe thought a little bit about someday will you have children to conquer time. Thank you.